is going on, everybody? This your boy Sean, aka Puff Comics 83, and we are back after a short hiatus, back to talk the last Unicorn. And this was a recommendation from BV. It was an interesting recommendation, and I'm glad he did choose it because it's been a long time since I've watched this film. I haven't watched it since I was a kid, so it was a pretty interesting watch. And we're gonna get into that discussion. But before that, I want to introduce VV. How are you doing?
Hey, of course, today like the emotions are a little damp, and since we lost Jennifer, like Jen, comics will break your heart in the community. So yeah, so I was just finding out last night when I went to bed, looked at the phone, and it really hit hard, and way too young to go, and yeah, she will be dearly missed.
Man, like I was working last night, so I didn't see the notification until like the middle of the morning. And I saw the email from the GoFundMe page said it had an update, so I looked at that, and then I saw that it said that she had passed the night before. So my heart sank when I saw that, because I was just thinking about her like that
Yeah.
early in the week, and I was like, when I get paid, I'm gonna donate more money to the GoFundMe, and that just made me messed up for the rest of the morning. And it also made me think of the movie we're about to talk, because there is some ties to what we're talking about with this film.
Yeah, of course, like Last Unicorn deals a lot, of course, with emotions and loss and fear, and of course also like they say is like regret. Yeah, it just sucks.
I really do, man. And she's been a huge part of this community. I've always enjoyed whenever I can catch her and Mars live on Casual Comics, and she has such a deep love for comic books and reading the books and the conversations that she had, even when she did the show with Will and them, on Friday nights. That I actually was on a part of that panel with her, when we talked comic books.
Yeah, I was once live and we talked Dune on Dan's channel, Comic Shop News. For him, of course, it's you can't describe the loss he felt, because they were really kindred spirits. I love Dune, but Dan and Chen,
they love it.
They are basically there. It's it's a spice. They got the spice.
They got the spice, and the amount of live streams that they talked about the books, along with the movies. When we talked Dune early in the year, I was thinking of those two.
Yes, exactly. And also like we had different comic tastes, but we did enjoy the same music. So sometimes we also like talked about music, and like especially like electronic body music, EBM, like Once Cut, which is a very niche music from Germany, which he also very much enjoyed. And so I showed her like my Once Cut collection, and yeah, it's a loss. I was sending her memes like to keep up the spirit, like, and her humor was really fantastic. It was like a really very dark humor, and she is dearly missed, and she will be dearly missed, and she will not be forgotten.
She will always be remembered. And I put the link to her YouTube page in the description. This video, this live stream is dedicated to her. So if you want to check out her content, she did amazing content. So you can always watch it. It'll always be there.
Yes. So yeah, this is like, at least with YouTube, it's always like, is it morbid? Is not morbid? Do I have like these traces of somebody left? Also with all the other fantastic community members that we have lost way too soon. It's sometimes you stumble upon the videos and then hey, Captain Comics, and it's bittersweet.
It really is, especially when you lose somebody that you followed for many years. Like Jen, she was following me when she was still here in Florida. In my
Yeah.
early days in 2017, she was still here in Florida.
Yeah,
and
I remember.
I mentioned in my post when I first shared that, I remember when she stopped by over here at the pub, which I knew, but I wasn't able to make it to see her and meet. So it's bittersweet when there's people that in the community, but you don't get the chance to cross paths, like Sam and Comic Smurf, and there's a lot of people that you've interacted with, and then now they're no longer here.
Yeah,
it
really
still hits.
Yeah, still, like, I always think about like Edwin, and that is that's already like way too long. It's time is crazy. And I remember, when we both were like introduced by Rod on his stream, and Chen also was in Rod's chat like all the time, and very very actively so.
Yeah, man. But she will so dearly be missed, but she will never be forgotten.
Exactly.
So, The Last Unicorn. Now, I will admit, rewatching this film, for me, it didn't really hit for me. Like, I was struggling watching it, and I was telling you backstage, it's like I probably watched this once or twice when I was a kid, but it didn't have a high replayability for me. Like, compared to the other animations that was coming out, the Don Bluth movies and even some certain Disney films, like, it didn't really have the replayability. So whenever it was on TV, I just kind of glossed over it and went to something else. So it's been a long time.
So also again, here in Europe, it's like basically a very traditional movie actually to watch to Christmas, even though that the writer, I think Bigley, is American. Beagle. He's American, and so like I understand you probably, because this is probably one of the widest movies in history. Like, so like I get it. But yeah, this is like something that as a kid I watched like already dearly, and now as an adult, this is also sort of like a traditional movie, like I said, to watch like for Christmas. I don't know if it's also like in the US, but here it's like always on sale on Christmas. You see it like in the stores. It's a thing here. So and it's also one of these movies that had like a part in me also becoming like a fantasy fan, or how to broaden my horizon as a fantasy fan. And I absolutely love like the portrayal of magic in it. Yeah. And of course, it's also one of these movies that's so interesting, especially when you grew up watching it in German and later watching it in English, and then finding out that actually, Christopher Lee's speaking his role in German and in English in both versions. And Christopher Lee is, of course, one of my most favorite actors of all time, and he was also a huge fan of the book. And
yes,
like he did with the Lord of the Rings, he came there with his personal copy, and he wanted to make sure, of course, that certain parts of the book have to be in the movie. I haven't read the book yet. I think it's a huge sin. That's probably one of my go for next year. Gotta read also the novel. But yeah, it's also interesting because the writer Beagle actually didn't want to let the press make the movie because he didn't like the Hobbit adaptation that they did. I actually absolutely love the Hobbit adaptation of the animated movie, and still think, especially compared to the movie trilogy, it's still the best version of the Hobbit that we have received in other media than the book by Tolkien, of course. Um, but I also think that here, because they had like Christopher Lee on board, and also Peter had like his influence, that you had enough people on set that really kept an eye that the adaptation will be done in a way that pleases the creator.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask you about this being something that they played around Christmas time during where you grew up, because there are odd movies that that don't have ties to Christmas, but they play a lot during Christmas. So it definitely has that fantasy feel to it that they can play it during Christmas, and it does have good meanings behind it, especially when it comes to sorrow and turning that sorrow into joy, having no regrets and stuff. And I do feel that this movie has positive impact throughout the entire film. I love the use of magic and the witches, especially the hag that was
that one creeped me out when I saw it.
She was creepy as hell, and I was like, oh man, they captured the Unicron while she was sleeping. So that had me a bit concerned and what the witch was going to do. But I'm glad that they had that section in it, because he's like, you still don't know who the villain is, so you just going by what you see, and you like, this witch is creepy as hell.
What I also absolutely love, it's this movie is so quotable. There's so many quotes that have like this gravitas, this depth to it, and that you can really that really improve your life, and where you can like quotes that can make you like a better person. For example, one of my favorite ones, of course, is also, what good is all the magic in the world if we can't save like a unicorn? And when he's like, that's not what magic is for, this is what heroes are for.
And this, like, I love the regret that Shrubman felt, when he transformed her into a human, and then later on he felt like, it was the worst thing he ever did to her.
Yeah.
And it showed growth in his character, because now he finally was able to hone in his true magical powers, to do good and to help save the situation. But yet he still had the sorrow feeling about what he did to the Unicron. And then the Unicron, like, she has this whole thing where she done experienced being a human, and she's conflicted. And I that part I really liked it, because now she has this conflicting feelings on, she had this Unicron life, yet she now experienced human emotions and human feelings.
And what is also so wonderful about it is, that she was transformed into human, but still, that everything she did with the grace of a unicorn. And there was something off, and I also love, especially, with King like Haggard later, that because he wants to basically collect all the unicorns and abandon into the sea, where the Red Bull guards like them and keeps them in the sea. And he's like, he's seeing it, and he clearly knows there is something more about her than being a human. And like, he's always so close, but he's also like so unsure about it. So he doesn't want to act while being unsure, while his son falls in love with Lady Amalthea, with the unicorn. It's such a magical movie. And like, also in the beginning of it, said the hag is so creepy, and I absolutely love, that basically that the hag has like this show with all the illusions, and only two of the mythical creatures that she has in the show are real, the unicorn and the harpy. And I absolutely love, like, how the harpy reacts, and especially later when Schmendrick frees them, and the harpy immediately like kills the hag and kills like also like her servant. And then Schmendrick wants to run away, and the unicorn says, "Don't run away." It's like never run away from something immortal, because he will only only get your gaze upon you.
And now that you mentioned that probably is what she was doing when she encountered the Red Bull. Now that she wasn't trying to run away.
Oh yeah.
But the animation made it look weird to me. But it was like, now that I think about it, like I remember that quote, and I was like, yeah, she was trying not to run away from the Red Bull because of that.
Yeah, and this is like also like a quote that I have totally like put in my life. Also like, for example, I always say, when you're like in nature, like when you do something, don't act like prey, because when you act like prey, other things will perceive you as prey.
Yeah, it's like don't move when you're around a bear.
Yeah, or
unless you're Chuck Norris.
Yeah, of course, that's different. That this different set of rules. So yeah, this movie, it has such a big impact on like in my childhood, and therefore of course the human being that I am now. So a lot of people, if you have problems, you can blame the Last Unicorn with that partly. Yeah, it's also, I think, what I also really like about it, and I think it's also such a smooth watch. It's it's 92 minutes long, and the also interesting thing about it, it's I haven't read the book, so I can't have a comparison there, but I like how it's like almost like a theater piece, also with the castle.
It does feel like that.
There's only like the king and the son, like there are no other servants except for like his old court magician, but there are like no other guards. Both pose as guards when they're let in Schmendrick, Molly, and the lady, the unicorn. So yeah, I also think Molly is a very interesting character, of course.
Yes, Molly was great. Tammy Grimes really played her up to perfection when it comes to voice acting. And I, like we mentioned it back, I love the whole point when she first sees the unicorn.
Yes.
And she just has this, like she wanted to see one ever since she was young.
Exactly, yeah.
And but she has this sad feeling about, where have these unicorns been?
Yeah, when she was young, and now she's like older, and there's like, why you didn't come when I was a kid, and she was almost like blaming the unicorn for it. In general, I just think this movie perceives and shows emotions very well, and especially emotions that are very deep, I think, within humankind.
I will say,
hey, somebody.
Okay.
Yeah. Tammy Grimes. And also like what is also fantastic in general, like all the voice acting, but Mia Farrow just nails this out of the world cute voiced unicorn, where it just, her voice has like this innocence in it.
Yes.
While Christopher Lee totally nails, the voice of somebody who is driven by desire.
Not only that, there's such dread around it. Like you can't help but feel depressed.
Yeah, it really brings it down, because it's also like how they show his whole like castle and realm, where it's basically he's living in a ruin. I mean, he's living like with little skeleton there. So, and also the cat is also fantastic, already past his prime.
But like one thing about King Haggard is
Yeah, that's
that he has this dreadful feeling that you just know that there's nothing that pleases him. And then when you find out his motive, I'm like, man, this guy is just he's looking to bring everything down to his pitiful level. And then
yeah.
it like it's the worst type of person that you would want to meet in real life, because those are the type of people that just they're depressed, they're sad, but then they want to bring you down to their level and make you feel the same way.
And basically, of course, the ultimate the end justifies the means people, and they will also sacrifice you for their ultimate goal. But yeah, this is so well portrayed that in the beginning how angry she was at Schmendrick, and Schmendrick just meant good because he's so like first of all he's at that point not the biggest master over his own skill, and he saw no other way to protect her from the Red Bull in this situation. But of course, by turning her into a human, he took everything away from her that was special. And of course, at this point, like she being like the last unicorn, that was like a tragic. But also later, the more she becomes human and feels like these emotions, also really like that the way she acts when she first time meets like the Prince Lear, and then how yeah, and then how their relationships develops, like, and in the end that she brings him back, and that there is this love between them, even if they have to be apart at that point. So
see, I kind of felt that was underdeveloped, like the prince and her, their relationship. Like she kind of ignores him and not give him any play, but yet he still yearns for her. But I didn't see enough of it for me to really say, why are you yearning for her? Like I didn't see enough of the why for me.
I think personally that's the way how I perceived it. At first, he was just amazed by her otherworldliness, of course, by her not being a real human, like fascinated by this magic, but then later developed like the true love for her personality when she became more human herself in that sense. So that's the way that I saw it. And personally, I think I like Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges also, I think he was a big fan of the novel, or is a big fan of the novel still. But his voice was not fitting for the prince. I think this is my only gripe with the voice talent, because otherwise the voice talent is fantastic. But for me, his voice felt a little bit too contemporary.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
I just didn't really connect with his cat. Like when you got, and I did like the backstory of King Haggard saying, that's not my son. I actually just took him in, when he was young. So right then and there, you already see the disconnect between those two. Like he looks up to the king, and the king is like, you're just there to be there.
I noticed also, like, I think that this was ultimately also so visible, like in the scene, when the prince like got between the Red Bull and Lady Mantea, like, and basically at that point, like, he was dead until she brought him back later, and how Haggard like saw this from his tower, and there was like no emotion.
None.
There was just none.
But you already just see that discontent between those two earlier on, and once he explained it, I'm like, this is the reason why he just don't care about Prince Lear because it ain't his son.
Yeah, I mean, he is.
And on top of that,
he
top of that, this guy just he all he wants to do is trap all the unicorn, capture all of them, and trap them within the ocean.
Yeah, and also fantastic, of course, the soundtrack by America, which was very huge. Also, think in the charts here.
I told you this backstage. Yeah. It's like the musical scores that they were singing throughout the movie, it was hit or miss for me.
Like I say, very wide.
It was like some songs it sounded good, and the other songs I was like I'm ready for the plot to progress, and then they hit you with a musical part. I was like, golly, man, pick up my phone. But yeah, the second half of the film for me is much stronger. But the biggest gripe we had talk backstage is the Red Bull, because all we could think about is that damn energy drink.
From Austria.
That damn energy drink. Red Bull give you wings.
It's really a sad thing, because of course when the movie came out like in '82, I don't even know if Red Bull was already a thing, but it was like not in this cultural. It doesn't have like this cultural relevance, and at this point, really, it was watching the movie, and every time somebody says Red Bull, it takes you a little bit out of the movie. So, and even when you're prepared, I'm watching this movie and rewatching this movie, and still like I'm prepared, but it still like takes me. Every time I hear Red Bull, takes me out, because of course, like especially like here in Austria, like I don't drink energy drinks.
I mean, I hate Red Bull. I've tasted that one time. Yeah. I was like, the fuck is this shit?
I was studying in Salzburg, and Salzburg basically is owned by Red Bull. So you have like Red Bull shops. You have like, of course, like their whole companies like very close to the city. Then you have like the horrible football club, where they killed like the actual football club with tradition just to make it like their company team. It's which is actually, it makes sense that Red Bull is the villain. So from that it makes actually sense.
I was hoping the Unicron would defeat the Red Bull and get wings. not gonna lie, because like I said, Unicron with wings was even better.
It's the last unicorn. It's not the last Pegasus.
But yeah, the Red Bull thing, like I said, certain parts of the animation were throwing me off with it until we talked about how the Unicron said don't run and stuff, and then now I see what the animation was going for with that scene with the Red Bull and the Unicron.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was like, what's going on with the animation? Why is she not running?
Yeah. The animation style I'm a big fan of. Like I said, I already really love The Hobbit by Brass, and like I said, also like Thundercats, of course. Also like in the same animation style.
Oh, damn mutants. But yeah, the animation is definitely familiar, and like I said, the drawings, and I like how King Haggard looked, because they really made him look like this absolute.
He didn't look much more alive than the actual skeleton in the castle. I also really loved the skeleton. When they.
Oh yeah, the skeleton part was pretty good.
Yeah, and how they tricked basically the skeleton, because it wanted to drink wine, but of course, like how would it taste it? So basically, just give it something and.
But it did get a little dark when the skeleton realized that the girl was the Unicron, and then the eyes went red and stuff.
Yeah,
that was good. I like that.
And this I'm missing nowadays animation very often. I just love the I wouldn't say dark places that animation went in the time period, but basically that they just thought that kids could handle it, and everybody that I know was able to handle it. And you know, sometimes as a kid, being afraid is nothing bad.
A lot of those animated films from the late 70s and 80s had some scary moments.
Yeah, you know, and especially
we was, to me, we needed that as kids.
Yeah.
You know? And to me, that's why the Don Bluth movies, those early Don Bluth movies, always connected, because they were some fucking terrifying.
I mean, like in The Secret of NIMH, you know, the spider and
the owl part and Secret of NIMH.
The owl part.
Man, that scared the fuck out of me as a kid.
I really wish that nowadays animation would be creatively, Western animation would be creatively in a place that it was back then, you know, because you had like, you know, the Press's company, you had Don Bluth's company, then you had like a Disney that was still focused on creating things. It was like a magical time, and
Ralph Bakshi.
Yeah, Ralph Bakshi, of course, you know, and you know, I also remember when as a kid, you know, especially like here in Germany, when TV stations thought, oh, it's a cartoon, so it must be for kids. So when I watched like Fire and Ice, way too young, and it was like I was like fucking scared. But like I say, you know, this is also a fear that that just enlightens something in you. You know, this was like a sort of fear that kept me fascinated with the topic, and I don't think that it is bad when a kid is afraid of something supernatural that doesn't exist. I rather think that this can be inspiring, and especially like in a creative way, that a sort of a positive fear. Of course, don't make like your kids like afraid of your parents, like or shit like that. But you know, when they're afraid of like here, you know, yesterday was also Krampus Day. As a kid, I was fucking afraid of Krampus, rightfully so, because I was naughty every year. So I was on this list.
But you're afraid to talk about these Krampus movies, man, because they're trash to you.
Oh, they're fucking trash. They're like, you know, when it's basically how do you say it? You know, cultural appropriation.
You want to gatekeep these fools from doing Krampus wrong.
Yeah, you should have done a good Krampus movie. Like, this is the only thing good about that movie is the grandmother, because she has a genuine Austrian dialect.
That was it.
That was it. That was it. But yeah, you know, movies like The Last Unicorn, I think, made so many people fantasy fans.
Yes, a lot of these fantasy films from the 70s and 80s, especially the animation ones, really put you into deep with these characters and these worlds. And the thing about being a kid is you watch these films and then you start to create your own fantasy world with your own style of character. Or you put yourself into it.
What I really enjoyed the making of the movie, when the author said that he totally underestimated like the impact that movie would have, and that at first like he was reluctant, you know, to like allow that his book is gonna be adapted, but then also later that he found out how many people were introduced to the story via the movie, and then later discovered the book, that this like not only brought him, of course, money, but also like true happiness, that he had like a very positive view on doing movie adaptations.
And to me, that's the best way to look, especially when it comes to animation. Like, you can definitely do great animation with fantasy. I mean, shit, we still need to cover the animated version of Lords of the Rings.
Yes, and also of course the Hobbit one. Yeah, and
Dude,
actually,
you talk about Nightmare Fuel. That movie.
oh yeah, after I watched it for the first time, I think I had for 2 days nightmare about the orcs with red glowing eyes.
Bro, they made those designs look scary to children.
Like my parents had to keep the light on in my room at night because I like, no, the orcs are going to get me.
Hell, when I looked at clips from American Tail, the Don Bluth movie,
Oh yeah,
and they made the cats look vicious as hell. I was like, those cats were
I
nasty.
mean, it's basically, of course, like I think also with the civil time period, of course, when the mouse graphic novels came out, so the cats were also not the nicest.
Yeah, they was like, nah, we not gonna give you Tom from Tom and Jerry. We gonna give you these vicious looking cats.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is like they put these imaginations into our heads, and we form our own fantasies based off of what we see on TV. They didn't, like, they scared us, but at the same time they made us think.
Exactly.
And be creative. And just like, yeah, what if my character was in this film? And like the Red Bull, Bull is a perfect example. Take away the whole thing with the drink stuff, and you just focus on the Red Bull. That's a beast that you will want to conquer and say, I defeated the Red Bull.
Exactly, because there is positive fear. Because also you have to learn to overcome it, and what is better than to overcome fear about something that only exists in your head, because these things can't hurt you because they're fictional. So, but of course, for you still have that fear, but it's very good to learn to overcome it with something that is safe.
And that's what makes Smedrick's character so great, is that he overcomes his shortcomings as a magician, and just build up on that and say, I need to do something, and he grows his power from within because he knows he's better than that. He goes from being a bumbling magician to being somebody that can really use his power to save and help and do better, and that's the growth of his character. He go from bumbling to hero,
which is also really interesting with this movie. Of course, you could say that Schmendrick is sort of like the anchor character for the audience, but it's really hard to pinpoint like a main character, because there's so many well-written characters in there that all have the potential of being a protagonist.
And to me, that's what makes the cast so great. And Mia Farrow, like you said, her voice was just
it's just
so good.
Pure magic.
It I don't want to say like you're the biggest My Little Pony fan. She would have been perfect.
She would have been a perfect pony.
So like she was casted so well, and like I said,
I may not be the biggest My Little Pony fan, but I'm the most sophisticated.
But like I said, the movie didn't hit well with me when watching it. But the more I thought about it, I was like, there are some strong points this movie have to make, and I can appreciate that even more when while we discussing it.
I think it's a movie that rightfully has the place in history that it has. Especially, I don't know how it is in the US, but here in Europe, it's so huge, and it is like also so interesting because it's so tough to get like the Hobbit on physical media. I think there's just like a Spanish release, but The Last Unicorn, it's like you can get everywhere. It is basically it's almost like that. If your household doesn't have like a physical copy of The Last Unicorn, it's like you don't have a proper household.
Trust me, I'm looking at an album that I should have bought last year. Now it's out of print and the prices are astronomical, and I'm like, fuck, I missed out on it, man. Because now,
what's an album?
Large Professor, the LP, but the prices are astronomical.
Okay, like send it to me, like on Instagram. Maybe in Europe it's still somewhere.
Well, even the
For
European prices are expensive.
yeah.
But
Then
I
maybe I
would
can
want
look.
discount.
Yeah, maybe I can look like in a vinyl. We have like 2 vinyl stores here in Graz.
And another thing I wanted to bring up, I want to give you and Gary B a shout out. That show y'all did on the Red Sonja run by Mary Wilshire was phenomenal. But
Thank you.
I dislike the hell that Dynamite did not reprint that in trade paperback format. The fact that that run has never been collected. It's a shame.
It's a really shame, and like I don't get it. It's, I mean, what I think personally is 2 things: either they don't care, or they don't want to put the money in it to digitalize it, and to like recolor it digitally. So
But
like
something has to be done though.
Yeah,
I remember rewatching the video, and somebody even brought up that they love that you guys are talking about that run because not enough people talk about it.
Yeah, and I truly think that I really think like within copyright, if something is not reprinted in a certain period, that is like should be like with some of the licenses for screenplays, that the right goes back like to the author or something, because it's just so criminally, like especially I think with some copyright law with comics, that certain things either are ignored and not reprinted, or other things can't be printed. I was just since I'm also collecting now like all the Atlantis Attacks like single issues, because it's one of my favorite Marvel stories, and I have like the omnibus, the trade paperback. And then I was looking through a comic, and I was like, I don't remember that one. I don't remember like that the Conan story was in there. And since of course Marvel at that point, when they reprinted the paperback, didn't have the Conan rights, that this one story is not in the omnibus of the Atlantis Attacks.
Oh.
So basically, this is like this was like in the Punisher annual, when he and Moon Knight were like fighting against the Serpent Man, and then you have like in this annual, like later the backup story of the Serpent Crown with Conan and Toph Amon. So this is then like a Conan story that you can only access when you buy the original single issue. And it's like the same thing with Death Set. That also the Death Set paperback, it's missing his fight, like his adventures with Doctor Who, because of course the rights are now like split. So I really think that, I mean, it will never come to that point because money rules, but I would love to have a law that is, when something is endorsed, that it would side with the artist.
Yeah, it's crazy that the copyright thing can just, if the copyright belongs to two different sides, but yet the characters interacted with each other, you won't get that unless you get the original issue.
Yeah. It is also the fucking reason why we never got like the Ash versus Freddy versus Jason film. It is also the reason why this comic can't be reprinted.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it really sucks like that. And there should be the law that, let's face it, even would you say like after 10 years, personally I would say after 5 years, but after 10 years, they made their money with the comic.
Yeah.
And instead of just like, that nobody can reprint it, then they should just say, okay, at that point, either like, that there can be solutions done. That basically somebody can reprint it, but like the originally involved companies get like a cut each or something, which is still better than nothing. Yeah,
It's
It's
crazy, man.
it's crazy, and yeah, it's like it was a wonderful stream with Gary. It's like we wish you could have been there, but of course,
like
yeah.
I said, I had family over that weekend. I just knew I wasn't gonna be able to join, but I would have loved to have been on there because when I was buying up Red Sonja books in the 2000s, I always saw that run, and the first issue immediately caught my attention. I picked that up, and then I was like, let me build up the rest of this run and then read it, and I was like, man, this is a pretty good run on Red Sonja, and the artwork is amazing. She did a fantastic job on the issues that she worked on, and the covers were great.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a shame that never got reprinted in paperback form or even a deluxe hardcover.
Yeah. Like the only thing that we can say that everybody is lucky is at least it was published in a time period when comics were printed like widely. So there are plenty of issues out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the problem with some modern comics, of course, since comics basically make themselves smaller than they needed to be, is that when you're like missing out of a story now and it's not being printed in paperback, that basically it's very hard to find like issues because the comic book stores basically just order what is pre-ordered at this point.
Yeah, but yeah, that was my whole thing. Great stream, great stuff, and when it coming back to the last Unicron, when I chose the quote, "No sorrow will live in me with that joy," I think it's such a powerful line.
Yeah,
with the character reflecting on what she's been through. And living life as a human for a short period, like no matter what she's been through and all the sorrow, she's not going to let that sully her joy.
Yeah, because
and now that she freed the Unicrons, there's happiness again.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter if you think this movie is a masterpiece or not, but what the great thing about this movie is really that everybody can find a quote in it that means something, that has a meaning, and that you can really adapt. I also really enjoy, when, like I said, when Schmendrick said that there are no happy endings because there are no endings, and yeah, it's so well written, and
this quote is actually in the Bible as well. It's from the Bible, so
yeah. That I don't know.
But I do think that I enjoyed the movie for what it was. Like I said, it didn't hit me the way I thought it would, but there was still something to come out of it, and especially after the passing of Jennifer, and you really start to think about those quotes and those lines. You really think that this movie has a positive message, and it really did a good job of elevating that message.
Yeah. What I also really enjoyed with the ending is that it doesn't has an abrupt ending. I really love because I really think that movie needed that that the story lingered a little bit.
And King Haggard, he got his demise.
He got it.
For his character to be so dreary and so want to capture all the joyful creatures of the Unicrons and just trap them into this. Now he's no longer an issue. It's people like that needs to get thrown out and fall off a cliff.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's I think now we are in a winter break.
Yes.
So,
winter break. Well, I'm glad we was able to come back and talk this, cause because the feelings I was having this morning after the news.
Yeah, I'm also I also was hey, I'm very happy that I can talk with you today about this and also the movie. Since I also really the last Unicorn, Like it's a very good movie to deal with emotions that help you in such situations. So,
And while
so yeah.
we may have lost Jen, we know that she's no longer in pain. I love the quote from the Instagram post. She's no longer in pain. She went out on her own terms, and you know, she's free. And you know when and now we need to rally for our brother Al, because you know he's going through his cancer treatment and stuff, and cancer sucks. It really does. It claims it claimed many people's lives, and you know we have to support each other. And we lost Jen. She's a light in this comic book community, because there's been a lot of drama, and like I said, I just don't care about the drama. I care about the good people that do nothing but talk about comics and what they enjoy, whether it's movies, TV shows, whatever.
And it doesn't matter what somebody has like a personal opinion is, you know, just don't make the day worse for anybody else. And Chen never ruined anybody's day. Hey, Robert.
Yeah, we love Jen.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, rest in peace to Jen, and hopefully, like I said, we just continue going forward, being positive and just having great shows and stuff.
Exactly, and having a good time together. Most of all, having a time together, which I very much value, and I'm already looking forward to next year. And I'm gonna start my research soon of movies that take place in 2025.
We keep going through these films, and it's like, man, these movies gonna predict everything. They Soylent Green and all that stuff. Matter of fact,
Alien Intruder.
Screw that movie. But you know what movie I watched on last Friday? I watched it with my dad, who, you know, he went through surgery. So I went over and I said, "You want to watch this film?" We watched The Northman.
Oh, it's so good.
And he enjoyed that film. The pacing was slow, but he stuck with it. And you know, the payoff at the end, he was like, "Yeah."
Yeah, because it's also like a very visceral movie, and it's even though of course it plays in a very specific time, in a very specific culture, the emotions that it portrays are universal.
Yeah. You know, I was thinking like, man, I should have, because there were two movies I said you should have sent me, but I didn't bother. Was Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh. I totally forgot.
And I know and then The Northman, you know.
Yeah, we'll get there again. And you know what I watched in cinema? What was a really good movie? Conclave. Conclave, like with Ralph Fiennes, and it's basically like the Pope died, and then you have like the intrigues within the Vatican, and about who's going to be the next Pope. So it's a very good movie.
Good to hear, man. I'll definitely put that on the list of movies.
And I also watched Gladiator 2 in cinema, and I've seen it.
That's it. That's all you can say.
I've seen it and I was entertained. On the one hand, I was just happy to see like a sword and sandal movie on the big screen again, and in that regard, it was a very solid movie. For everything else, it's just very good to have your brain off. it's you know it's so sad because Denzel Washington is so fantastic in it.
He's fantastic in anything.
Yeah, and then, like, you know, what I absolutely hate with some Hollywood movies is when they build up a character in the first and second act so brilliantly, you know, with that they're smart and they're like cunning, and then suddenly, in order for them to lose in the third act, they have to act totally brainless. But it's like, if you just want to watch a Sword and Sandal movie, go out there, watch it, enjoy it. I know a lot of people complaining that there are sharks in the Colosseum. It's still fucking sharks, and sharks are awesome. I'm a historian.
Like, people find ways to complain about anything.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, Ridley Scott he doesn't care about history. History for him must serve the plot and not plot the history, and it's still a movie. So, of course you could say, oh, if he would have used a crocodile that could have been kept alive and transported, but it's still fucking sharks in the Colosseum, and this scene is awesome.
Nice.
But yeah, it's, like I said, I recommend it for watching it if you know what you're going into. And let's face it, And let's face it, the first movie didn't reinvent the wheel, but Joachim Phoenix was just so fucking good.
And the first movie had the quote, are you not entertained?
Yeah. Yeah, that's we already talked about that. Yeah, it's quite cool. Like we have, I guess, still, even though I don't have a 3D TV anymore because they don't do 3D editions, but I have like the 3D edition, and I really think they should make. The Blu-ray quality is fantastic. Still hope that they're gonna do like a 4K, because this is probably a movie where I would get 4K. Oh, talking about 4Ks, Monday finally we get the German release of 1966 Django in 4K.
Oh.
So I'm gonna finally see Django in 4K.
That's another film that...
Yeah, Count Clav was really good.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I still think that... I know the the book is quite recent from the 2010s. I think that the twist at the end would have had more impact 20 years ago, because it's like a topic that has a little bit overdone in the last years, but the way to get to the final twist, and especially the acting and the interaction, just fantastic.
Yeah. So now that's two movies that I will definitely mark down to watch.
Nice. But yeah, I'm already looking forward for the next year, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna come up with some pretty cool, some pretty trashy, and some fantastic movies to talk about.
Not only we got January to look forward to, but February as well, because we got to talk that the movie.
Yeah, with Koto, and also like the one with Koto and the one you said that we will have a very nice.
We'll do the rest of Rudy Ray Moore, with Al.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, I'm looking forward.
We're gonna have a very nice selection of movies next year.
Yes. So with that in mind, we're gonna go ahead and end the show. Great discussion. It's always fun to do these discussions. And another thing before we end, I got to say it. We did the Survivor Series show 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I can't stand these modern war games. The women's one was the worst because they kept trying to get plunder from under the ring, and it delayed the match.
I enjoyed the women's war games match for what happened in the ring, except for Nia Jax's chair shots. Terrible. I think of course, but it's like, for me, it's impossible to not enjoy Io Sky and Tiffany. However, also I think that that the Liv with Liv and Raquel was very good, and with Rhea, I would have totally booked it different. I think that the heels should have gone over, because I don't think there was too much. Like, they should have put a little bit more infighting with the faces, especially since you had like Bailey, Io, and also Bianca. and like the way those three feuded against each other in the last 2 years, like this is something that you can't just throw away and now suddenly they're like, yay, we're working together. So I really think that the heel should have gone over because they are better at working together.
I just hate the structure of the match. I hate them coming in to find weapons underneath the mat. I hate the fact that everybody got to dive off the top of the cage. We saw it in the men's one. Like, it's no longer special. Like, for me, the cage is the weapon.
Yeah, it is like it you know, it's not like
and then
you should not
on top of that, you can take certain things within the ring and make weapons, like the turnbuckle. You know, take the turnbuckle off or unloosen it and use it as a weapon. I just felt like it's too much digging to bring weapons in the match when there's no need to it.
The problem is that they want to find reason to make justify war games, while the feud itself should justify to be in war games. And that was, I think, also the thing, because I think that you could have done way more with the Bloodline Civil War, especially since Solo did a lot of, like, he had a lot of character improvement in the last months. However,
I felt like they should have won.
Yeah, that too. And also, like, I didn't want to have like Bronson Reed in there. And I also didn't want to have like CM Punk in there. That was just because, even like, of course, Sami Zayn like has his history with the Bloodline, but if we could have gone a different way, you know, there's Silla fucking Fatu out there on the Indies.
To be honest, though,
get Silla in it.
To be honest, I'm already tired of the Bloodline. Like, I'm sick of y'all Bloodline. Like, throw them all out there, because I'm sick of all these Fatus and stuff. It's too many of them. Too many.
That's right. As long as we don't get Bloodline 2000. I mean, of course, in the future, like with Jacob Fatu's kids alone, you can make like a Royal Rumble.
Like a whole Bloodline Royal Rumble, man. I'm done with them. But yeah, I'm like, the modern war games just don't do it for me. The men's one was good, but it's just that it's too many times where they have to do all these dives off the top and stuff, and it's like, that's not even special no more.
I think it should be done, but when it's not expected and when it feels justified. But but the thing is, I absolutely love Io Shirai, Io Sky, but they just make like I think somebody said it, like her yearly trash can spot is like the new it's like the new
trash. It's trash. It's trash.
It's like
it's unnecessary. For me, it's just completely unnecessary to do this spot that takes up time and it makes the match longer.
But you know what I think is the worst, what they do with war games these days? The timer doesn't actually mean anything, because everybody needs the time to get to the ring and the time is already over. So you don't really get like those, because the thing is...
remember when they used to stand outside and they like you do the countdown and then they just open the door and the dude go in there and start going
yeah, because basically it's like how do you get like the thing in war games that you basically, you have one person more for 5 minutes, but that person is like, first of all, like strouting, letting yourself celebrate until it gets to the ring, then picks up slowly weapons, goes around the ring, picks another weapon, and then it's like almost the next person comes in again. So your advantage is basically gone. So it's so war games would be way better. They need to either pause it, or I think that they should pause it and then bring it back in a better manner, because war games is awesome, but also not every it's like there needs to be a reason to war games. Then they need to come to like a point where within a few, where everything else doesn't work, and they really need to have like this conclusion within war games. But just to have it like for war games' sake, I think weakens the gimmick. And I am a big war games fan. You're a big war games fan. We want to see war games, but we want to see it done right.
If they're gonna bring blood into it, man, then war games is the answer. But the war games we saw wasn't the answer.
Yeah, it's Survivor Series. It was not a bad event. I was entertained, but
at least you.
Yeah, but the best match was the Intercontinental match.
Yeah, that was the best
that one was really good. That one was really good. But yeah, otherwise, it felt like I think the booking was for a lot of matches just wrong. But yeah, we're gonna see what. Yeah, but it doesn't matter that as long as there's GCW, I'm happy.
That's a whole story in its own with what's going on with them.
I get it.
So we're gonna go ahead and sign off.
Oh boy, Effie.
I hope y'all have a great weekend. And once again, rest in peace, Jen. We love you. Later, y'all.